Greetings, nerdlings, and welcome to AmalgamNation Presents World of Lorecraft Elfcraft Combination Edition. And by Combination Edition, I mean the previous one was fairly short, but these would be even shorter than that one. So today we have a combination of information about the Undead Elves, the Half Elves, the Half Night Elves, and Half Blood Elves. So bear with me and thank you for listening. I will actually announce them as I'm starting them, so I'll start off with Undead and then work my way through. Sorry about the long ass intro, guys. Information about Undead Elves. Undead Elves are a subrace of Forsaken. They are also sometimes called just Forsaken. Undead Elves were once High Elves. Like the Forsaken, Undead Elves are freed from the Lich King. Undead Elf appearance. Undead elves, just like other creatures of undead, have plagued skin. Male ones have green, females have white or sometimes blue. Sylvanas has blue skin, for example. Female undead elves are usually called Dark Rangers. Female undead elves have glowing red eyes as well. The next part is pure speculation. It is not said how Sylvanas and others became undead elves from banshees. Many speculate that when Artus's powers started to wane, some of the banshees regained their bodies and free will. So, there's that bit of information, but pure speculation. Information about half-elves. This one's way longer than the previous part, but I still want to do a combination. So, thank you for bearing with me on this combination one. Humans and high elves can produce offspring, and the product of such a union is a half-elf. High elves are not prolific, especially after the destruction of Quel'Thalas, and they do not look favourably upon those who couple with other races. As such, half-elves are rare. History reveals certain prejudices against half-elves. Humans are jealous of half-elves' extended lifespans. Night elves are suspicious of their high elven heritage. High elves see them as proof of their race's weakening blood. In recent years, this bias has waned. Wars and strife showed how petty such prejudices are. In large cities, which consider themselves enlightened, half-elves find little of the historic discrimination. Still, many individuals, particularly high elves, remain scornful of half-elves and may or may not attempt to hide their feelings. Tensions with the Horde and other forces strain relationships among all races, and some allow this stress to manifest itself in anger against anything different from themselves. Half-elves push themselves to excel in whatever their chosen field, whether to hope that success will help them fit in, or to spite those who consider them inferior. You will not find a more dedicated priest, a more loyal fighter, or a more studious mage than a half-elf. That a half-elf will ever serve in high position in the Alliance is virtually impossible, but their desire for acceptance nonetheless drives many to volunteer whenever the Alliance has a need. They always face the chance that great heroism may give them an acceptance they have wanted all their lives. Half-elves are members of the Alliance. Half-elves' heritage places them in the Alliance at both ends, and many served in the First, Second and Third Wars. Half-elves socialise with humans more than with high elves, as the former are generally more accepting and easier to find. In their wanderings and search for self, some half-elves join the Horde or become independent. They sometimes find a home within the towns of the Horde, although the culture is so different from elf or human culture that it seldom offers a comfortable fit for long. Their high elf heritage grants half-elves a natural talent with their magic-related skills. However, a half-elf does not enjoy a full high elven legacy that would otherwise bestow strong arcane abilities and the corresponding addiction. However, a half-elf's blood does carry enough mystical heritage to offer some resistance to magic. They have limited arcane ability. Drawing upon their high elf heritage, they can cast a few spells. Physical appearance of half-elves. Half-elves have much the same build as slight humans or heavy high elves. They are more heavily built than pure-blood high elves. Like their high elf parents, they tend to have fair skin and hair and brilliantly coloured eyes, usually blue or green. Though lacking their elven parents' longevity, half-elves still enjoy a long lifespan, reaching maturity at 20 years of age and living for 2 or 3 centuries on average. In World of Warcraft, the only known half-elf, Arthur, is a reuse of the Blood Elf model and then updated to using a High Elf texture in patch 3.3.3. Calic's half-elf form is a unique blue-haired human model. Acceptance of half-elves. At one time, half-elves were barely accepted by the Alliance, but are still dedicated to the Alliance cause. They were not fully accepted as they did not fit in with either their human or high elf societies, or even night elves who were suspicious of their high elven ancestry and were viewed with prejudice by both of their parent races. While they were dedicated to helping the Alliance, they also held the dream of settling their own nation and asked for help from the Alliance. Others felt like taking things into their own hands and left the Alliance lands, setting up settlements with or without support from their allies. However, views have been changing in recent years, and they are slowly being accepted by both of their parent races, according to the Alliance Player's Guide, as wars and strife have proven how petty such prejudices are. They are also said to be proud of their heritage and name, though they tend to be fairly humble in nature. In many enlightened cities, half-elves find little of the historic discrimination. Most humans have finally accepted them into society. Because humans are more easily accepting of them, they tend to socialize more with them. However, some prejudices still exist, especially from many high elves, who are scornful of them and may or may not attempt to hide such feelings. Half-elves generally tend to avoid prejudice by rather blending into large cities or wandering. Distribution of half-elves. Many half-elves currently live in Terramore, having moved there during the Third War. Stormwind has the largest population of half-elves anywhere in the world. Few still live in Alliance settlements in Lordaeron. A few wander the ghostlands of Quel'Thalas, learning what they can of their fallen legacy. Many become scouts just so they can spend long periods of time away from other people. Many choose to establish themselves in major cities where prejudice is not as large a problem as it is in backwater villages. Some have become independent and few have joined the Horde. Half-elf culture, including faith and language. Like their parents on both sides, half-elves revere the holy light. Half-elves are particularly fond of the philosophy as it links them inextricably with both their human and elf parents. They consider the light as a way of having an identity that they may otherwise lack. Some half-elves choose to follow their elf parents in faith. Half-elves who choose druidism often become savagekin. Half-elf language and names. Most half-elves speak Thalassian and Common. Half-elves are versatile wanderers and pick up many different languages. Half-elves follow the naming practices of the culture into which they were born. Many take human first names and elven family names. Male names include Gamus, Zorius, Mendel, Barim. Female names will include Adele, Mirit, Ilin, Shireen. And family names include Goldleaf, Stormdancer, Swiftwright, and Sunbow. Half-Night Elves. Only a short period of time has passed since the Horde and Alliance joined forces with the Night Elves to repel the attack upon Nordrassil. As such, Night Elves and humans have not found sufficient time to mingle and produce adult offspring, and that any crossbreeds with humans are currently children or babies. In addition, it is unclear that the two races would actually couple due to prejudice or disdain, even if both humans and Night Elves are Alliance members. But as humans are confirmed to be able to interbreed with High Elves, which came from the Night Elves should be able to interbreed with humans as well. Information about Half-Blood Elves. Half-Blood Elf is a term used to describe the offspring of humans and Blood Elves. They do not yet exist in-game, or at least not in large enough numbers or ages to be noticeable. If any, they are most likely infants. Since Blood Elves came into existence only a few years ago, they certainly have not had enough time to mingle with humans and produce adult offspring, without even factoring in Blood Elf prejudice. This does not mean that it cannot happen. However, it is possible it might happen 20 years in the future. The Blood Elven half will be more dominant and they will have Blood Elven racial traits, Like their blood elven parents, half-blood elves will be addicted to the use of arcane magic. A half-blood elf will have to spend 1 hour each morning in meditation, resisting the distractions of their addiction, or have problems with spell casting or spell defense for that day. Half-blood elves slake their thirst through the absorption of fell energies. If the blood elf partakes of demon's blood, the magic addiction abates for a number of days. Half-blood elves reek of fell power, offending the spiritual senses of night elves and tauren. Half-blood elves will be proficient with the short bow, short bow, short sword, and scimitar. Those with limited arcane ability usually become warlocks. Speculation. Most half-blood elves live in Dalaran and a few in Shattrath City, because in Dalaran humans and blood elves live side by side. They are even more rare in Shattrath because the scryers would not mate with the humans of the lower city. Some half-blood elves are born after the events of Schnotz's landing. Thank you for listening, and as always remember, play to game and game to play.